You should get a notice requesting your permission for that. Okay, good. All right. Well, welcome everybody. We've got a good group today and a busy agenda. I sent it out a week ago. Hopefully you had a chance to peek at that, and got a number of guest speakers who will be jumping in here. I did see a few of those. Let's see. Not seeing Dr. Alverman on. He was a yes.
I guess, Brian, before we get started, I have a quick question. I see something popped up in the chat about a AI note taker associated with Jim Ehrlich, but I don't know if I see Jim Ehrlich on the screen. I guess I'm a little bit confused as to where that came from, and maybe it replaced his name with the note taker. I'm not sure, but just not quite understanding what that is.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. This is something I've seen just in public meetings over the last, let's say, 2 or 3 months. Folks have figured out that they can have an AI bot essentially attend their meetings, take notes using some transcription and AI logic, and then send them the notes directly. There is some disagreement, I'll say, in various communities around that type of activity. Some are more permissive, some are a little more concerned around that. For my part, I've been allowing them if folks are using their own notes. We don't have anything to hide. It's just I prefer, we use our official notes in our record, the minutes of the actual things that we would post and become part of the public record. We would never use that to, without a human review, to be part of the official record. But if somebody's using it in their unofficial capacity, I've been comfortable with that. But it is something I'm happy to raise and open up to the team. Is there any concerns here? Some people do, so I don't feel hesitant to share that about someone using an AI recording device or note taker. I'll just pause and let anyone that wants to respond can feel free to.
Brian, this is Julie. I think it's a good thing because sometimes we have multiple meetings we need to be in, and this allows those. And I know Jim, and he's a good guy with the potato administration. So he's probably got 15 other meetings scheduled at the same time. So this is a good thing for him to be able to do.
Thanks, Julie, for speaking up. I do appreciate you for that.
Didn't Jim retire, or is he like air quotes retired?
No, he has retired. It's Wendrad. Yeah, he retired, and there is the new Colorado Potato Administrative Committee executive director is Tara. Her name is Tara. I can connect her next time. I'll coordinate with you, Brian. But yeah, he has already retired back in November.
Thanks, Wendrad.
Yeah. And honestly, on the AI stuff, I somehow downloaded it and it pops up and I can't figure out how to turn it off yet. So I just have to deal with it and turn it off as I log in. So my apologies.
Yeah, that's fine, Nick. Again, I'm pretty permissive on this. I wouldn't use it as an official record. I'll state that again and again. Those things hallucinate and hear things that people didn't say. So they're good for a first draft of a notes, but they're never the Bible, as we say. Okay. Thanks for that. And welcome, Emily. Great to have you. So I'm going to go ahead and share the agenda here. Give me a second. This is the first part. All right. So first up, as always, just make sure you drop your name and your role, your organization in the chat right now. That does serve as our official attendance factor and record. So just take a second to drop that in while we're getting started here. As always, we do collect and map all of our meetings and resources at our site. So continue to use that and share that. As our guiding principles, I'll just allow, as I usually do, I'll just allow you a minute or two to review these. This has really been since, I guess we're up to 4 years now, since 2021, the guiding statement, our why, our collective, why do we do this? Why is this important? So important to just review that. And I'll give you a minute to scan through this. And I'll just focus on these last four just briefly. Our continuing role of the collaboration with our agricultural community and all the MOU agencies. Really important that we continue this, and we've been able and fortunate to continue to grow our membership here and add to that. Continuing to evaluate and optimize our best management practices, and we'll talk about those briefly today in the second section. And continuing to promote the implementation of those across the region, especially in the impact areas. That includes our work on the early warning system, and we'll get an update on that today as well. And our final area, making sure that we stay informed of any current research. And we have a couple speakers today who will help us with that. Any questions on our guiding principles? Okay, well, let's dive in a little further now. I continue to raise this as I do with many of our working groups that I facilitate. We always think about what is our end state. What are the things that we would like to see progress against, in milestones in particular, and we have some very detailed ones in our actual reports, and we'll talk about that milestone report here in a second. But more conceptually, how do we know that we're making progress as a group? How can we feel confident as we move into the summer months, for example, that we're further along in our goals than we were in the winter months? Always looking for this group to provide feedback on that and have a sense of, what can we share in terms of data or even just our analysis of the process to make sure that folks see the progress and know that we are making our way towards that end state. Any thoughts on this from anyone here?
Brian, appreciate that. And I guess, I'll just say from, our perspective at the division, I think this is a really important question right now as we think about what does the future of this project look like. As we work through the most recent milestone report and, made a commitment from the MOU agencies to, move in a different direction from a contingency plan kind of backstop and commit to a plan review. I don't know if I see it as an end state as a next step as much. And I think this collaborative group is really critical to that next step. And so, as I talked about in the last meeting, we at the division have taken over full funding of the facilitation of this group through the end of this fiscal year, end of June. We have put it into our budget for the next fiscal year and intend to continue it beyond that. And so, I really see this group as being, as you mentioned previously, the information sharing, the conversation, the collaboration about how do we continue to make progress? What are the areas we need to dig deeper into that maybe we haven't thought about in the past? And I really see this as being a critical forum for the next year and beyond to determine the future of this project. And so just want to kind of raise that and also say thank you to all those that are participating in this group, because the information shared has been critically important to the project to date and will continue to be important going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Josh. Great points. Any additional feedback or thoughts? Okay. Well, we'll continue to evaluate that and working through the the points that Josh mentioned here. So one area that I would like to see maybe a little more emphasis or a little more input from our group here is, are there additional speakers or topics that should be presented? I ask for new speakers and new research every time, and we do get some each time. So I don't want to say we're not making progress on that. We do. But there is also a lot going on that we don't know about. And I think every time we talk to somebody, there's a whole new lens on this issue, and it provides some insights that we need. So just as we work through today and you look at the notes that come out next week, and if you're watching this recording, please think about who else should we invite. There's lots of research going on and really some expert opinions that we may need to consider. And so we're very open to hearing from different perspectives on this, and want to make sure that just reach out to me, and I'll make sure that we can get some time on the upcoming agendas to share that information.
Brian, I know at the last meeting, Anarelli had mentioned Jeff Collette, and I don't know if you'd had the chance to reach out to him to see if his
Yep.
group was interested in re-engaging with this process or not.
I did reach out to him, and he is interested. He just had a conflict for today, was unable to move that, but is committed to the May meeting. So we will see Jeff. And as a reminder, that's going to be an in-person meeting in Greeley. We'll get into some of the logistics later. So yes, we were able to follow through, and we'll see him in May. Thanks, Bonnie, for the reminder. Okay. Well, again, that's an open door on new topics, new speakers, new thinking. I'll just keep emphasizing it, and want to make sure this is a perfect forum and platform to share new ideas and new research. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into the last intro topic here I have, and that was the call to action for our crop stakeholders. I'm just going to switch over to our list. Can everybody see this? Great. So as a reminder, we asked everyone in our November meeting to think about who, particularly in the crop field, so that was these first 10, but also, other related fields. You can see here we have universities, pesticides. Bill from our Colorado Egg Producers has joined us, for example, today. Really glad to see you, Bill, and others. I invited everyone, and I included them all on the sharing of the invite. But I think there's a little more work to do here, right? I got a number of emails that was sort of like, oh, hey, Brian, what is this group about? And what am I supposed to do? So I think we start with just informing people of what they are, let them know about the meeting, invited them, and I'll include them all on the notes for this time. But I think some of these folks are more important for us, right? To make sure that we get their attention. And so I'll just pause here, especially at the sort of the top of the list. Are there folks here, for example, right below Nick's name, Rebecca and Ashley and Daniel and Ben and so on, that we think would be, and I did talk with Marilyn, she was going to make it today, but had a last minute conflict, but she will join in May. She's committed to that. So are there other folks here in particular that any of you know personally, for example, and would be a good contact, to make let's say a personal appeal for them to join? I'm certainly going to keep them on the list and so on until somebody asks to be removed. But any thoughts on this, how to improve our outreach here, and then maybe make an effort for our May meeting to get these folks in person to join us?
I meant to reach out to both Rebecca and Ashley, and I spaced that. So I'm writing a note for myself right now to make sure I do that this time. And I can also reach out to Tyler at Rocky Mountain Farmers Union to see who would be the best from their group to possibly come on. I don't know if Dan is still there. I thought he moved to New Mexico, but he might still be there in a consulting kind of fashion. So I will check with Tyler to see who would be best suited for this type of work.
Excellent. Thanks, Nick. We want you to have your compadres, right? As we say. So anyone else that knows these folks personally or feels that you have an in, that might help make the case for them to take 2 hours out of their busy schedules with us.
Hi there, Brian. This is Abby Gray with the Colorado Association of Conservation Districts. I am on the call and I will reach out to my 2 board members and see if they can make the next call.
Oh, good. So that would be for Nick and Cecil. Am I getting that right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Brian, this is Julie. I'll try to reach out to Glenda with the Colorado Greenhouse Industry Association.
Great. Oh, thanks everyone.
And I'll reach out to Brad. I just realized as we're going, where's Wheat Growers at? And they're there. So I'll reach out to Brad as well.
Okay. Where did I lose Brad? Oh, there he is. Yeah, Brad, let me think. I think he might have followed up or something. I did get something from him. He may not have understood what we were about. I think I might have sent him a note, but I'm not sure if he understood. So that would be worth an outreach. Okay, excellent. Jim.
Yeah, I'm just trying to recall from, I think in a previous meeting, we talked about potential for poultry representation here and that I had brought up. And the reason for that is there's, I think that there's like at least 3 poultry producers that are in the, top contributors to the issue. And I'm not sure how they're structured, but it just to remind, has there been any conversations on how or whether they might join the group?
Jim, we've got Bill Skebby from the Colorado Egg Producers Council in the meeting today.
Yeah, I'd like to respond to that. I'd like to respond to that, Jim. We are working on actually developing a poultry sector of our organization. So I'll be doing some research on that because they're not well organized whatsoever in the state of Colorado. The Colorado egg producers are doing a good job in getting people together, but I think we can bring in the poultry sector as well, especially since all of us are dealing with avian influenza these days. So if you'd like, I would be more than happy to do that.
Thank you.
Bill, thanks for that. Abby.
Yeah, another group that you guys might want to consider reaching out to is the Colorado Independent Cattlemen's Association and Harold Unwin. I can email over his email address to you all.
Yeah, can you drop it in the chat right now? That'd be great.
Yeah, you bet.
And we'll get that captured here. What was his name again? Just the first name at least?
Sorry, I left the screen for a second. It's Harold, and his last name is Unwin, Unwin.
Got it. Thanks. Does anybody else know Harold? Okay. Thank you, Abby. Dan.
Yeah, I can reach out to the other ARS person, Grace Miner. I'll just kind of approach her and see if she's interested. She's down there at the bottom of the list.
Yes.
And I'll get her email and put it in the chat here.
Yeah, in fact, let me just as a reminder, I can drop the file, the link to the file in as well. Everybody's had access to that. So let me do that just to make sure everybody knows.
And her email, I'll just tell you right now, is grace.miner@usda.gov. We're pretty uniform.
Got it. Dr. Auerman's trying again to get back in. Okay, good. All right, Dan, your hand's still up. Was that from? Okay, there it goes. Thank you. All right, excellent help here, everybody. Yes, thanks, Dr. Morales. We'll be in the Weld County Administrative Building. If you don't mind, if you could drop the address into the chat as well. I'll capture it for the notes and use it for next time. And we'll talk a little bit about logistics. So thank you for that. Eugene.
Yeah. I'm not sure I know any of these other people, but I just want to let you know that with this recent deferred resignation stuff, there is going to be a change in the representation for NRCS on this committee. And I know Mike Brady was planning on retiring, so he's going to be gone. And I know he was trying to get Joel Moffett in, but Joel Moffett is looking at this early deferred resignation. So as of right now, I will probably be the person attending, at least until I retire coming up here in September. So
Oh boy. Yeah. I just connected with Moffat. Wow, that was a short stay with us.
yeah.
Okay. Shoot. Well, so we don't know who our next potential representative would be then at this point, right?
Not right off. I need to do a little digging with staff and discussions to see who that's going to be. So
okay. If I can ask you to email me who that would be when you come to that conclusion, I'll make sure I update the invites and all the communications. So
yep, I can do.
All right, appreciate that. Okay. Any more thoughts on our crop stakeholders here? Great work, everybody. Appreciate for those of you who've offered to be the outreach contact, or if you've just shared a name. This is how we grow the team. So appreciate your help. Any last thoughts here? All right. With that, let's pop back to our agenda, and we've got Donovan. Is Donovan, are you here?
Hi, yep, Taylor Donovan.
Yes. Taylor, do you have some thoughts? I know you're stepping in for some of our favorite, well, one of our favorite people. So any thoughts that you'd like to share as you get here? And then I'll ask Josh and Matt and Jim to share any updates, but love to give you a chance to take the microphone.
Oh, yeah. Let me get my camera on. All right. Hi, everybody. So for those who I haven't met yet, my name is Taylor Donovan. I have been filling in for Rebecca Perrin as the EPA Region 8 Agriculture Advisor for the last few months here. So, hi to those who I've met before, and nice to meet you if I haven't. Just on the EPA Regional Agriculture Advisor role, my kind of stint will be ending at the end of this month. And so we're going to be in a bit of a transition again. I'm not sure if there will be a potential lapse in, someone filling in for this position, or if maybe Rebecca will be able to, donate a little bit of her time back to it. But I'll be sure to, at a minimum, let the group know kind of what the status is when I know more.
Yeah, thanks, Taylor. I didn't realize that. Okay, so you're on short term as well. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping, obviously, the next meeting in May, we're hoping to be able to meet you, but that sounds like that might not happen. So sorry for that.
It could be me. It could be someone else. Stay tuned.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to have you have a moment here. I know a lot of folks haven't met yet.
Appreciate it.
Sure. With that, I'll open it up to Josh or Matt or Jim. Anything on the milestone report as we left it? Seemed pretty solid, but I wanted to give us a few minutes here and allow y'all to update the team.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. And I know we're running a little bit behind schedule, so we'll make this pretty brief. The milestone report revisions have been completed. We have summarized all of the comments received and generated our response to comment document. Both of those documents are going through final review at leadership of the MOU agencies. And then once that final review is completed, the intention is that the division will email directly all of the commenters who submitted comments to us with the response to comment document, as well as a red line version of the report. So it's easier to see where changes have been made. And then once that has been transmitted to the commenters, we will update the website on the division's webpage to contain the final report, as well as a copy of the response to comment document. And that will kind of close out the 2022 milestone report. We received a number of comments from people who are participating in this meeting today, and wanted again to say thank you to them for all of the comments. We basically bucketed the comments that we received into two groups. One group was changes made to the report, and that would be reflected in the red lines of the report. And the second bucket was items to be considered as we plan for, the comprehensive plan review as we go forward. And so received a lot of really good feedback about things to consider for the project, potential gaps in research, different data sources that didn't really fit into a revision to the report, but fit better into things to be considered as we look forward. And so, really want to extend a thank you to everybody who took the time to review that report, to contribute to this group again, and to contribute comments. And I think it really gives us a lot of great things to think about as we move into the next phase of this project. And so I will pause there and maybe see if Megan or Jim or Matt have anything else that they would like to add.
Yeah, just to add to that quickly, as well, just thank everyone for their comments. It did help to improve the report. One thing I'll highlight is it helped to hear and emphasize the content of attachment A that many are aware of, that regarding the demographics of ag production and trends, which is probably the longest section of text that was changed in the report. So it really helped to improve that representation of again, production and trends as as an indicator of emissions, something that we want to continue to do a better job on in the future, of course. I don't see Megan or anyone popping on, but just to add that aspect to it, you'll see that in the document and in the response to comments.
I don't have too much to add. Josh, thank you for giving the update on our end and covering it all. And again, I echo the gratitude for all the feedback that we received on the report draft. It definitely helps to improve it, and incorporated most, if not all of it in there. And the stuff that was not incorporated, we'll be reviewing when we do the 2007 plan review.
I have one thought as you were talking, Josh. Do we have a link to that people can see the report, just so we can include it in the notes, make it easier for folks to find the latest draft?
I guess it's on our Rocky Mountain National Park webpage, the draft version. We have not updated the webpage yet with the final version, and that will be done after we send out the response to comments and the red line to the people who had commented. So right now we're thinking it's probably around the end of the month, is kind of what we're hearing from the various agencies of, when their leadership review may be completed.
Okay.
And I will make sure that's sent to you when we get that out, and it can be sent to everybody.
Thanks for reading my mind. That's it.
Yep.
I don't want to, yeah, exactly. So we'll get that to everybody at the right time. Yep. Thanks, Jeff. Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Well done, everybody. A lot of work.
Yep. We appreciate the ability to provide comments, and it sounds like you guys really took a lot of time and put a lot of thought into it. And so I appreciate that, and look forward to seeing the final version.
Christy.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to give a quick data update before we move on to Emily, if now is a good time to do that.
Sure.
Okay. I just wanted to let folks know about the latest that's happening with NADP, which of course is where we get our deposition data from. There's a lot of site sponsors that fund NADP. Various entities do that. The largest funders of NADP are federal agencies. And of course, we're seeing decreases in budgets. And so NADP is starting to plan for that. An email was just sent out this week asking for input on various cost saving measures within NADP. And one of those is going from a 1-week sample to a 2-week sample. That would look like site operators going to the site every week, but collecting that sample, compositing it with the following week's sample, and then shipping that sample to the lab. So it would cut the analysis costs in half, which would really help the funding agencies be able to maintain spatial coverage. This is a national network, spatial coverage of the US. So we have already gotten a lot of input back. And folks particularly interested in this project are really hoping to maintain that 1-week sample analysis schedule. We've heard from Brett Schichtel in our office that runs the data substitution model for us. We've heard from Russ Schumacher, who does the early warning system. So these are all applications of the data right. And I think what we will do is we will request that the data from Lockvale and Beaver Meadows continue to be analyzed on a 1-week basis. I don't think that that's going to be a problem as long as, we don't end up with a lot of exceptions across the network. So I just wanted to let folks know that change could be coming and decisions are going to be made probably by the springtime in May. And I don't know if they will make that change starting in January of 2026, or if they will make that change and it'll be started through part of this fiscal year. Beyond that, with NADP, I might mention Jeff Collette has joined, excuse me, the leadership group there. The representative for the State Ag Experiment Stations retired, and Jeff Collette has taken on that role with the network. So I think that's really exciting to have him more involved with the network. I'll also mention that the NADP site on the west side of the Continental Divide in Rocky Mountain National Park, called Comanche Meadow, it's been running for about 12 years, and the park is just really having a hard time finding staff to operate that site. So that site did close down in January. We have 12 years of data there, so we have we kind of know what deposition looks like on that side of the divide, but we will not have data moving forward at that site. And then real quickly, the 2023 data we got from Brett this morning. And so the annual value for 2023 was 2.26 kilograms of nitrogen per hectare per year, which is quite low, which is great. The 5-year average is still 2.8. And I just put this graph together this morning. I can share it, maybe. No, I'm disabled to share.
You should be able to go now. Try now.
Should be able to go now. Let's see. I do that. Share.
Yep, it's coming up.
Is that shared?
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe
all
little
right.
bigger.
So this, let's see. I don't know if I can make it bigger. So this is what the latest graph looks like as of 11 o'clock today. So if folks are interested in taking a better look at it, I'd be happy to send that out. Just get in touch with me. But 2023
Christy,
data.
If you could send it to me, Christy, I'll put it in the notes and we'll get it to everybody. So
okay,
thanks.
that sounds good. Just know it's not. Let's not call it final yet. Just in
Feel
case.
Feel free to caveat it any way you like.
Okay.
We'll be
all right.
faithful to that.
That sounds great. Okay, thanks all.
Yeah, some good news. I'm sure everyone's wondering, any initial thoughts on the good news? Is there a sense of why? Does anybody have an instinct there?
Precipitation was fairly average in 2023. So it's not just, low precipitation. I'll have to look more at the concentration data and see what's going on there. It was a very good year for data completion. There were only 4 missing or invalid weeks of data. So that's really low. Just good news. We'll see.
Yeah, thanks. Jim.
The other thing I'm reminded of it on the agenda, and sorry, I know we might be a little behind, is the options are moving forward and the agency's commitment for reviewing the master 2007 plan. So something to think about is what that would look like for ag engagement. I hate to create more meetings, but I mean, I think that while the BMP work group is still meeting, I think between these larger meetings, so that is a potential to leverage that smaller group where more productive discussion may be had, just as a suggestion, something that we can nail down maybe about in the May 1st meeting, if not beforehand. So just to plant that seed to think about.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, yeah, we are running a little bit behind. Emily, you okay to take over?
Yep. Okay, let me share my screen here. Hi, everyone. Here, let's just scare the mic. How does that look for you? Did that switch there to the right view?
Yep. Oh, you're looking great. Thank you.
Wonderful. So thanks for having me, everyone. I'll spend 10 minutes. I'll try to keep it shorter than that in case we want to have any discussion. Letting you know of a recent paper that just came out from the Trans Am campaign, and let you know about two new projects, one that started and one that is coming up in case you haven't heard. So this is the paper that I'm showing you the figures from. This was recently published in ES&T, and this covers the part of Trans Am where we did flights with the University of Wyoming King Air in August to follow plumes of high nitrogen air up into the mountains nearby. So as a reminder, this is what these particular flights look like, and we did a set of them. Now it feels like a long time ago, August 2021 and then August 2022. As a reminder, this was not planned to have 2 Augusts, but the plane hit a bird and then the engine cracked. So this is how this field campaign ended up. So there were flights, and these were conducted under, we were aiming to conduct them under easterly wind conditions. And so there's leg 1, leg 2, leg 3, leg 4. So we went down at quite low altitude at 1,000 feet above ground level. So well in that boundary layer. And came down and back and down and back, and they're colored here by ammonia. And then the different facilities are the dots here, and they're sized by animal capacity. So you can see where we put those lines. So here's just a map. These are the number of facilities at each latitude here. And we also had the Tahoe with an ammonia picaro in it. And ammonia and methane, and we were driving when it was working. We drove this route, along down to Carter Lake and back. And you can see here, there's a plume, for example, of high ammonia right there that the vehicle intercepted, and that's right kind of over here underneath this elevated plume here. So they both line up, both with the vehicle and the facility. And this is just one example flight pattern, but we repeated this on a number of days, went under easterly wind conditions. So this is outlined in the paper, but we have a pretty good sense of what ammonia and methane concentrations are as you go from east to west. And you can see these sort of broader plumes where there's really sharp plumes when we're very close to facilities. So let me scroll back here. When you're really close to a facility right here, right, this is a large cattle facility and this is directly downwind of it. It tends to be a very narrow plume. But as you go further west, you see these sort of really broad plumes, but still very good correlation between ammonia and methane in those plumes. So we've run and trajectories associated with each of these case studies, and here's one that I'll show you. So basically, these are forward trajectories. Each dot represents an hour of time, and we ran them from all the elevated ammonia plume sections of the flight, or little plumes that were intercepted along. So here we did not have strong easterly winds on this leg, and we need to put better wind data. Actually, a side note, better wind observations out in this part of the world would be great. It's very hard to take off from here and know exactly what's happening once you get there. But so here there were not strong easterly winds, but on this flight there were winds from the southeast. And so these are, this was the very large ammonia enhancement right here. And then and right here. And you can see this is where the winds were pushing that ammonia plume. We intercepted it again here, right? And then we intercepted it again down here. And so these are trajectories. Again, these are trajectories, trajectories are 20% roughly uncertain at 24 hours out. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4 hours out. So they have a smaller uncertainty, but you can see that we intercepted this elevated plume, which was observed at the ground and aloft out here again. So in summer, under these kinds of wind conditions, we have a sense that these sort of transport times between large plumes that are intercepted here and plumes here is roughly 4 or 5 hours. And that's about how long it's taking for these big pulses of ammonia to get from point A to point B. So that paper, you can go through and read that now. That's publicly available. And I wanted to just let you know about another project that's now started. We're a year in technically, but really 6 months in because the postdoc started in September on this. So we have NASA funding to use CRIS data to try to distinguish and understand the sources of reduced nitrogen over mountain lakes across the Western US. And this is a project collaborative between Jeff Collette and myself and Jill Barron at USGS. And then we have some great collaborators at AER who are providing the data for that. So the postdoc on this gave the first presentation on this at the AMS meeting. We're just getting started. And basically what we're trying to do is use the ammonia data from CRIS along with data from the lakes themselves and as much other satellite information as possible to figure out how much exposure is happening from wildfire smoke and try to untangle that from the agricultural influence. And so we're using the National Hydrography data set and the Watershed Boundary data set, and we're overlapping that with HMS smoke plumes, so visual estimates of smoke plumes from the NOAA hazard mapping system. And then we are combining that with data from CRIS above and near high altitude lakes. And so CRIS, you really only have 1 degree of freedom. So we're really just getting a column measurement of the ammonia. So here's a picture, for example, this is the average. We're doing this on an average warm season basis. So from March to October. And we're doing it from 2013 to 2023. So here's an example of the CRIS column and then this surface estimate of ammonia. And we've oversampled these, there's 1 measurement per day at the satellite overpass 1:30 in the afternoon. What we've been working on now is, and we're actually processing now, is removing the smoke influence from these oversampled maps. So on an annual basis, we should be able to see if the satellite is able to detect changes in ammonia from space in areas of interest. Whoop. So the next thing we'll do as soon as we have the sort of smoke reversion of these maps, right now these maps are highly influenced by wildfire smoke, but we're taking out the wildfire smoke. I expect sort of these regions to be crisper because they won't have just diffuse wildfire smoke over them. And we're going to look for trends related to agricultural facilities in this area, and this area probably first because of the longstanding work in the Tetons and Rocky Mountain National Park. So that seems like where we should look first, but we'll be doing this whole area is the study region where we have the CRIS data processed for, where AER is able to provide that for the team. So the other thing I wanted to mention is FarmFlux. So I am co-leading with Glenn Wolf and Jeff Geddes an upcoming NASA Earth Venture mission that will use, like Trans Am, a small aircraft to sample around animal feeding operations, and then a large aircraft to sample over crops. And so the blue circles here show where we're aiming to go. There's like large budget cuts, so I'm hoping this is where we go. But one of the places will be Colorado. So I'm working very hard to bring the aircraft back here because we have the Trans Am data set for summer. So I'll show you on the next slide, the sort of schedule here. I'm going to work to bring the aircraft back to Colorado in the springtime and fall time, since we have done work here in that hot August period. So, and in addition, we'll have a base somewhere in the Ames, Iowa, or Des Moines, Iowa area, somewhere in this Texas panhandle. I'm thinking maybe Amarillo. I hope we can get up there. I'm hoping we can get, up to Idaho for a little bit, and then the Central Valley, and then the large aircraft will be here and based in Colorado, in California. So this is what I'm thinking. This is what's in the white paper. This could all change, but I'm trying to bring the aircraft back to do something like Trans Am, where we sampled individual facilities, the plumes downwind of those, and see sort of differences in ammonia lifetime and transport pathways in these different seasons. And so the goal is to do something in the early fall and something in the late spring, early summer, if we can, logistics allow. And so you can learn more about what's being planned. This is a link to the white paper. This is a link to the ROSA solicitation. We're currently seeking proposals for people to join the science team to do the measurements on the aircraft. And then this is a link to express interest in no-cost participation. And so I very much welcome any collaboration associated with this. This is what we're doing right now, is sort of building collaboration, building communities of people who would like to be a part of this. I can't answer too many questions about FarmFlux because they have to be answered in the public FAQ, but I'm happy to take any questions in the white paper. I can answer for you right now, but otherwise I'm happy to take those questions and then we put them out through the public FAQ. So yeah, that's that.
Wonderful. Really, the material's beautiful. If you don't mind sharing those with me, a link or however you might. Oh, there, I see something coming in.
Yeah, that's no problem. I can just download that PDF and send it to you.
Let's do that. I want to make sure I get it out to the team in an easy to use format with all the other notes. And then let's open it up to questions. Great material, great presentation. Love that. What do you think, everybody?
A lot of data. Thank you, Emily, for that. There's a lot of data. And so I definitely want to look at the paper and read it. I mean, you gave us a big overview, and I just need to now delve into the white paper. Thank you.
Hey, Emily,
no problem. And we paid for open access, so that paper should be open to everyone. We have another one coming in JGR that we're doing the revisions of now, and that one will have quantified fluxes from several large facilities, and that one's under review right now.
Hey, Emily, this is Dan. I'm with the ARS, and you presented with us. I hope that we've been able to continue some of our collaborations with the ground level ammonia flux work that we're doing and the aircraft stuff. Maybe we should get back together and talk about that a little bit more. I know things are very much up in the air, no pun intended, but I think we can kind of keep pushing this along until we're unable to push it along.
Yes, that would be great. And we're having these kinds of conversations now, collecting information about who will be working on the ground now and potentially in 2026, 2027, 2028, so that we can make sure flight planning benefits everyone.
Great.
So I'm happy, Dan. I'll shoot you a message and I can get Glenn and Jeff and I can all meet with you together.
Yep, we spoke a few months ago, but I think it's good to get back in touch again to kind of see where everybody is.
Yeah, sounds great.
Brian, can I ask you ask her a question, Emily?
Sure.
Sure.
So Emily, it's great that you are picking up the ammonia load from the animal facilities. How do you separate those from, I am assuming between those facilities and the park, I am assuming there are irrigated agriculture, and there are potentially point sources. How do you separate those out to be able to say these are from the animal feeding operations?
There are not that many large point sources between leg 2 and leg 3. We also don't see, so in terms of vehicles, so this sampling, right, is like Longmont, Berthoud north, right? It's north of Boulder. In that sampling with the aircraft, you really don't see a strong correlation between, or nearly any correlation between the ammonia and CO. So it's unlikely that we're picking up plumes of this magnitude related to vehicle sources. So that's quite clear. Trajectory wise, that's why we did trajectories for all these plumes, right? So can we trace back every minute little bit of ammonia? No, but the plumes that are large, when the winds were consistent, they're showing a pretty clear pathway from a plume that is unambiguously collected downwind of an agricultural facility and transported 2 to 3 hours, 2 to 5 hours, intercepting it again with the methane and the ammonia going up together, right? So yes, you can't fit every tracer on a small aircraft, right? I kind of wish we did nitric acid, and I'm wondering if next time I did this, if I would put NOx on the aircraft instead of nitric acid to allow us to have just a different tracer. But I'm not finding evidence of a lot of other sources in this area based on the data we have.
And there are not many irrigated ag in that between those areas.
It gets pretty urban, right, as you go in. So there would be between leg 1 and leg 2, right? Like but as you go really close in, yeah, there's what is hard to interpret, and we are in our other paper, right? What that's under review now. What's hard to interpret is when you're trying to track the evolution of a plume, ammonia relative to methane, and be really quantitative about the lifetime in areas if there's other sources underneath. But there's not that much, right? You get to the highway, right? Between there and there, there's not that many, I don't think. We can probably look at this more, but the way we position these legs, it was pretty careful. And the trajectories, you don't see that much elevated ammonia plumes. Yeah, outside of these large ones. Like there's
Okay.
just there, I'm just not seeing, I'm thinking through these time series and there's not much. In a recent, I'm looking at the aroma data, which was airborne data collected from cities. My graduate student worked on that recently. So there, in Chicago, for example, there was a plume that I'm like, ooh, that looks like a golf course. Right? Like we were able to find one right there that looked there. No methane went up, no CO went up. We could find a golf course right there. We didn't intercept anything that I found like that here. And we didn't strategically try to fly downwind of a golf course here. But I have a sense of what that plume looks like from another airborne data set, and we didn't see much like that here. What we did also find that was kind of interesting and we didn't follow up in, sometimes downwind of some water bodies, we were finding these little plumes, but we didn't really follow up on it. They're not huge.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, and I think maybe more what Kanan was getting at is these ag facilities are also surrounded by irrigated crops, not golf courses, but
Yeah.
you know, I mean, they're surrounded by farm pivots, you know.
Yeah. So here we didn't circle a facility, but like when we did our flights that we, I'm just trying to think of how we might get at this. When we circled facilities, when we would circle and then move downwind, right? We're keeping at least half a mile distance from the facility border to the aircraft. So then we're getting a flux associated with a circle that is the facility plus half a nautical mile on each side. That's essentially what we're quantifying. That would be what the flux would represent in that way. Thank you, Annarelli, for putting stuff in the chat for me. I appreciate you. I see it over here now. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
No worries. So anyway, Dan, I have you on my radar, but anybody else who would like to learn more about Farm Flux or talk to our PI team about potential collaboration, please just reach out. We would really, really like to link the airborne work with work on the ground. That would be the best thing to do.
Okay. Well, we are a little behind, and I'm having a little trouble with my internet right now, so I'm trying to reboot here. If I drop, I'll have Kate take over the facilitation, and I'll reboot. But Dr. Overman, you want to take over?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Brian. Interesting stuff. Not a lot of additional to report from our NRCS funded work. Mr. Lee, Myeong-song Lee, whose PhD is built on this project, is busily writing 2 manuscripts that will be submitted to the refereed literature. I've shared preliminary looks with this committee in the past and with, excuse me, the summary now is that under the best case, the most highly controlled environments that we can create to measure these things, ammonia emissions associated with different, especially with sprinkler use and incorporation of urease inhibitors into the sprinkler water, we're able to achieve under those controlled conditions somewhere between 15 and 30% of the ammonia flux over a period of about 2 days. But what is showing up in the field data is exactly what we expected, and that it's very difficult to achieve that level of control at the field scale, and our monitoring data will show that as well. We do see some effects, there's no question about it, but whether or not those management practices will ultimately be cost effective and therefore subject for real recommendations on spending actual dollars to achieve actual and measurable and documentable results. Those measures outlined are probably not in the short list. Very difficult to do. Anyway, let me stop there and see if there are any questions. That is not a scientific synthesis. That is a practical synthesis that I just gave.
Yeah, thank you. Questions or follow-up? We had shared those presentations with those results right out of the November meeting. If you want to go back and see some of the graphics that Dr. Everman shared. Okay, thank you. All right, that moves us through to the next section of our agenda. We get a little more time back there. Thanks for getting us back on track. Russ, how are we doing?
Just fine. How are you?
Great. Good to see
Got
you.
your internet going again?
It looks good, right? Everything's fine. So Comcast has been a little spotty for me this morning. I'm not sure what's happening.
All right. Well, I might be able to get you some more time back on the agenda here as well. I don't have a whole lot for today, but I'll just share this real quick. So from our end, nothing real significant on the system itself since we last met in November. We haven't issued any warnings since September, partly because it's generally the low season anyway, and fall was really dry. So no warnings through that period. From the technical computing end, within the next month or so, we'll have the new compute system set up, and we should have the by the time we get to that peak season in the spring, we should have the models, instead of out to 72 hours, running at least to 84, maybe 96. We'll see what we can handle there. So hopefully can get a little bit more lead time and specificity with some of those warnings. The other thing I didn't put on here, because I thought maybe Zach would be on and would chime in, but I don't see him here on the call. So he and I chatted last week or earlier this week, I don't remember, about trying to get more information from producers who are getting the warnings and what they're doing. And so one simple thing he was going to look into is, so what happens right now for the producers who are signed up for the system is they get the message that they get the message about the warning, and they get the message asking if they did any of the BMPs during that warning, or and if so, what they were. But we haven't been getting a lot of responses to that. So one simple idea that we came up with, and Zach was going to check with the website developer, is whether we can ping those producers again with another message like 2 or 3 days later, because it may be, if it's in the middle of the storm, or they're in the middle of doing the BMPs, they may not think to respond to that message right away, and maybe it'll be better to get them that question a couple days later to say, what did you do, and maybe that's a better time. So I don't know how much difference that'll make, but that Zach may have some updates on that, and we can, when we do, we can get that spun up. I don't know if anybody else is on the call, like from CLA, or who would know anything about that.
Yep, I'll talk a little bit about it during my piece.
Oh, okay, great, Bonnie. Yep. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so just a quick look back at 2024 in terms of the warnings that we issued. The data is in through most of the year now. So here's the list of all the warnings that were issued in 2024. So I think that's 10 of them. And then what happened at Lock Vale on the right-hand side in terms of the deposition. So the one that's puzzling to me was these 2 big upslope snowstorms in March that produced a lot of snow in some areas, but I think maybe they didn't produce as much snow like at Lock Vale specifically. But I'm still a little bit puzzled by those because those seem like the sort of storms that would be kind of slam dunk for high deposition, but there weren't. So that one was sort of interesting. The rest of it was pretty straightforward. Like there was this period in mid to late July that had a lot of rain and high deposition, and the forecasts were good there. Also the one in late April. And then, there was moderate deposition for these other warnings we issued in August and September. So not too bad there. The ones we missed, so these were weeks where there was high deposition, but we did not have a warning. So there was the big snowstorm at the end of April, and we had a warning for that one. That was actually a quite high deposition case because it was it was like 3.5 inches of liquid at Lock Vale. But then the next week also had high deposition and with much less precipitation, and the concentrations of nitrogen were much higher for reasons I don't exactly understand. The deposition was low at Beaver Meadows, but quite high at Lock Vale. So that's sort of an interesting one that maybe we can try and take a little closer look at. And then there were 2 weeks in the summer that had high deposition, and we always kind of struggle with those thunderstorm rainy weeks in the summer. So that, I think that's kind of all I've got there on those, but happy to take any ideas that anybody might have or other more general discussion.
Russ, I am really interested in these weeks that we seem to miss, and I don't know what it would take to try to parse out what happens there.
Yeah, I was
is it
like
truly something we missed from Colorado, or is there other factors at play?
Yeah, it's a good question. This one at the beginning of May, I was looking at it a little bit yesterday just as I was putting all the numbers together here, and it I don't know. There was nothing clear. Like on the one hand, I think there was about 2 inches of precipitation at Lock Vale during that week, and which was quite a bit higher than anywhere else in the area. So I'm not sure what that is about. And then right, the concentrations were super high. So I could take a closer look at where the winds were coming from during that week and that sort of thing. But yeah, at Lock Vale also, that is always a possibility, is we know the sources there are not only from the east. So it could be that the sources were from somewhere else that week. Tough to say at this point. But yeah, I agree. It was kind of a puzzling one.
Emily has a note here, Russ, in the chat.
Oh, I can't see the chat, so feel free to read it out.
I'll read it real quick. Just give me a sec. It says, Russ, we can add this to our satellite perspective analysis. Don't have 2024 data yet, but we could work with summaries from other prior seasons.
Cool.
See if we can find any
these
other
kinds
clues.
of mysteries, Russ. I wonder if I have to step off here, but I can come find you. If we can see what the satellite data looks like these mystery weeks or mystery periods.
That would be fantastic, because yeah, it's not always obvious from just like the weather data. So
yeah, and just see what the CRIS data shows and the HMS shows, and see if we can figure out the directions things might be coming from. So I'll chat with you. I'm stepping off, but I was like, oh, good, I stayed on for this.
Good. No, yeah, let's touch base about that, because that would be good. And there's other instances like this from past years too that I can dig up. That
the only problem will be that it's cloudy, right? So there's the cloudy piece is going to challenge the satellite and the airborne perspective. So anyway, but I think it's worth like knowing those dates and shining a light on them from our way of light shining if possible.
Yeah, well, and it could be that if you've got the clear sky passes like a day or two earlier, then that's telling you something also, even if you don't have it like on the day when it's snowing. Yeah.
There's some good questions coming in the chat right now. I know you can't see Russ. Jill asks or says they have some good meteorological data from right at Lockvale to show wind speed and direction. And then, yeah, Brent's asking how high in the atmosphere do we find the anthropogenic nitrogen from any sources?
That might be that might be an Emily question. I don't know if you know the answer to that. I don't.
It can be quite high if something's sucked up into a thunderstorm, actually, right? Certain forms of nitrogen that aren't soluble can go right through that. But typically there's a pretty big drop off at the top of the boundary layer.
I love the attention to these weeks. Bonnie and Russ and everybody asking these questions. Emily, it makes me think of, as we think about the agenda for our May meeting, maybe we could have just sort of a working session around those where we spend more time on that and folks can provide their different perspectives and come prepared. I'd be happy to facilitate a meeting in the meantime with a smaller group of you all if that's interesting. So think about that for now, and maybe as we wrap up the meeting, we can decide to convene a smaller group to work on those those trouble weeks or whatever we want to call them, and do some problem solving in real time. If we know what we're trying to look for, maybe people can come with the data and a perspective to talk through it.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, and I think it relates to, what Christy was showing earlier with the 2023 data, in that 2023 was super wet, like all along the Front Range, but not way up at the highest elevations in Lockvale. So that was kind of an interesting period too, where we were sort of issuing warnings, assuming that, well, it's gonna rain here, but it's gonna rain up there too, and that didn't actually happen all that much. So anyway, yeah, lots of interesting things to try and poke at, I suppose.
Okay.
I guess I would just
ahead,
wanted
Bonnie.
to ask one more question. So when you issue warnings, you're really looking at conditions along the Front Range, is that correct? That kind of tend to add up to these upslope conditions. So I guess my assumption would be that in these weeks that we missed, we didn't have that happening in Colorado. But I am not a meteorologist.
Yeah, so either, right, I guess it's one of two things. It's either that, or it's that it rained a lot more or snowed a lot more than kind of what was in the forecast, would be the other probably failure mode. So you had like upslope, but it didn't look like it was going to rain that much, so we didn't issue a warning, and then it did.
And when you say it didn't look like it was going to rain that much, do you mean up at Lockvale?
Yeah,
or
up at
okay.
Lockvale, yeah. Because the other part we still have difficulty sorting out is how much to take into consideration the rain at the lower, like that some of it's going to get washed out, right, by rain at the lower elevations as it's moving up that way, and getting the timing of that line, that's where the forecasts are, the exact timing of those things sometimes doesn't always work out real well in the forecasts. Yeah, exactly. Like Anarelli says, predicting storms over the mountains is hard. And especially it's like, yeah, is it going to rain in like in Fort Collins or whatever, Fort Collins, Longmont, and wash that nitrogen out before that air makes it all the way up into the park? Or even is it going to wash out at Beaver Meadows before it gets to Lockvale? Like that's the kind of detail stuff that we've learned a lot over doing this for a decade, but that's a part where we're not super good at it, I would say.
Well, great discussion, and if you agree, I'm happy to put some time on the agenda just and call it a problem solving or investigative session or something like that. It could be really interesting for everybody to share their theories on this and decide, is this something that we can improve, or is this outside of our earthly abilities?
Yeah, and I can certainly before then throw together like a list of a handful of cases that the forecasts weren't good, and then we can all, if people have their own data sets to bring to it or whatever, then that'd be great.
Yeah, I would love that. So let's figure out how to do that here in a minute as we close up. But it might just be, let's get a small group together and talk through how how we would approach that in real time and who would want to be a part of it. I'd love to get some volunteers. Anna.
Russ, what is the connection between Virga and deposition?
I don't know. Good question.
Cool. I will go.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know if like Jill or somebody might, I don't know if Jill's even on, but
cool.
Good question though.
What is Virga for the lay people in the room?
Virga is when a cloud is raining, but it evaporates before it gets to the ground, and they kind of look like little wisps.
Yeah, so I would, my assumption there would be then that doesn't contribute to wet deposition, but so it wouldn't be measured as a metric of this project, but then there would be dry deposition happening.
I'm guessing, Annarella, you're asking it in the sense of like, if there's Virga at low levels, like it's raining out of the cloud, but not actually making it to the ground, is that nitrogen then still in the air as it's getting pushed up the mountains like that? Yeah, that's what you're asking, right? And I don't know. That's an interesting thing to think about. Someone's probably, I don't know, Christy, if you've got
anything more.
Okay. I did not, I thought we were going to get Dr. Sarah Place today, but I did not get a final confirmation from her. I think she ended up with a conflict. So that would, and I don't see her on right now. Just going to triple check. Yeah. So that would move us forward to you, Bonnie.
All right. And are you guys just seeing the PowerPoint presentation?
Yep, looks good.
Okay. So just kind of as a reminder, what the BMP work group is looking at is we've finalized the literature review that was done by SES. And then from there, we're going through with a fine-tooth comb to figure out which one of those BMPs are applicable to Colorado, maybe removing some ineffective BMPs, identifying ones that need additional funding, looking for new ones, and then using that to inform future efforts. So we've finished the first step, and then everything else is kind of happening in tandem. So we've met since the last quarterly meeting. One of the big focuses we have is reaching out to poultry and dairy partners to increase engagement. I'm really glad to have Bill Skebby here. And I, after hearing some of Jim's comments, Bill, I'm planning to reach out to you to kind of bring you up to speed on what he's talking about in terms of producer contributions, so you know where we're at there. We are also planning to have Dr. Shaw present on the second iteration of the BMP survey and provide a refresher on the results of the first survey. And then we're going through the BMP inventory through each sector. And then we have been talking about upgrades to the early warning system in terms of whatever software computing needs there are. We would like to make some changes to the questions we ask when folks sign up and when we get responses, and the hope there is to improve data granularity but still protect individual producers. There was a lot of questions about what specifically was being implemented in the focus area. And in the pilot phase, the system wasn't really set up to do that. It was more about engaging producers and building that trust and seeing how that process works. But I think we're maybe ready to take a next step and add a little bit of granularity to that. We also realized that we need to maybe add some options to the response. Right now, you can add, if you don't change any practices, you can add a written comment that to the effect of maybe you didn't have any of that planned, but it would be good, I think, to have that as a stock response that we didn't change any practices because none of these things were planned for the upslope warning period. And then as Russ brought up, a reminder for folks to respond after the warning. But Zach Riley did reach out to Chris Taylor, who's been running the website for us, and he did let us know that they won't be supporting that after May of this year. So one of the big things that we need to work on next is finding new web support for the early warning system. And then depending on the cost, either keeping it as is or hopefully making these changes to the sign up and response options. And then after we've got that figured out, doing much bigger pushes to get increased participation, focusing mainly on dairy and beef producers in Weldon Larimer County. We've also talked about kind of annually having a push from CLA and other industry partners to remind folks about the system, to, you know, kind of as a precursor to it's about to ramp up, and encourage people to respond. And then we are hoping to present findings from our BMP inventory assessment to the Ag Subcommittee. I'm hoping we can do that by the May meeting. But we are, you know, really concerned about continuing to support the early warning system, and I think that that's going to be a big push for us right now. And I don't have any updates on that. We just recently found out that the group that's been supporting the website and issuing the warnings will no longer be providing support for that.
Yeah.
Bonnie,
So,
do you know, like, can they, like, will they just like turn over the code? Because that doesn't like seem that complicated, but if somebody has to rebuild all the code from scratch, then that's a bigger lift.
yes, I'm hoping that that will be the case. I have not had a chance to visit with Zach Riley in depth since he got that news, but I that would be my assumption. That's my hope, is that they can turn that over to us. Because Russ, I'm assuming, I'm not real familiar with it, but are they, that's the group that actually issues the warning and coordinates the responses?
Well, basically, yeah, like, I mean, I log into the website and I, you know, pick the dates and click the counties, or there's a couple other people on my team that have the access to do that also. And then click the button, and then that system sends the emails out. And then likewise, like, if people respond, it collects those. So like, we don't have to work with, like, it's all automated in that sense on my end, in that we go in and we put some stuff in and then send it out and it goes out. It's not like I need to talk to Chris to have him send it out or anything. So I don't think I'm guessing the code is not all that complicated. Like, the website's not, it's not like super sophisticated or anything. But again, like, if they consider it their like proprietary code and they don't want to give it out, then it's going to be, somebody else is going to have to rebuild the same type of functionality.
Jim?
You called my name before I even came on. Thank you, Bonnie. And it sounds like challenges and progress, and just appreciate your you stand on point for these, especially you know, the website for canoes. That there was you've mentioned the vision before of, like, it's, you know, it's going to be useful to maintain that as a place to have kind of like a cloud source reporting of BMPs for both the early warning system and also like potentially year-round BMP, see where it goes. But it's just appreciate your support and time in keeping it going in light of those challenges.
And I do think this might be a good opportunity if we're kind of shifting gears. If we can get that code, find new web support, would be a good opportunity for us to make changes, to keep it running, but also to improve the functionality.
Yeah. Bonnie, that's a critical point. And that's new, obviously. We're just getting that as a team now. So maybe just, I would offer, you know, my support to you if there are things that you need to help evaluate that, or, you know, look at a potential RFP for that, or talk through the process. Please reach out. You know, we do have time to support you all in that effort, and can provide some facilitation or notes or whatever you might need I do a lot of IT consulting as well. So here
Oh,
to
that would be
support,
great. It's
yeah, here to
something I know
support the
very
group.
little about. So we'll definitely circle up with you. But
Yeah,
we
please
did
do.
just find this out, I think maybe Friday of last week. I got a text from Zach. So
Yeah, I'm getting that fresh. So just keep in mind if there are things that need to be done that seem difficult given your resources, ask. That's why we're here, is to help make provide backup resources. So
perfect.
anything else for Bonnie? Great update, Bonnie.
I just a quick question. I mean, just in the news like 2 days ago, the JBS USA, with the investment of 200 million in facilities in Texas and Greeley, I don't just like a new distribution center in Greeley. Is there any? You have any ideas how this might affect number of head or pounds coming through your facility there? And I don't know if you have an answer now, but it's just on my mind since it's in the news, and we work together on demographics.
This is actually, it's I would say the first time hearing about it. So I'll take that question back to Justin Miller, and we'll see. I don't know, Jim, how that might affect us. I don't know that.
Thank you for figuring that out. It's just I'll put the link to it on the. Go ahead.
And I don't know that, I mean, the meat packing capacity is one aspect of it. It's also cattle supply, and it is going to take a few years for the beef cattle herd to rebound from the low point it was at earlier this year. So I don't know. It's a great question.
Yeah, they're predicting in the markets for 3 years from even growing any of the beef cattle herd.
Sorry, Julie, you were a little muffled in the beginning. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, what they're saying in cattle industry is we're 3 to 5 years from even gaining on the beef cattle herd. So we're still the lowest that we have been ever in the beef cattle herd.
Thanks, Julie. Okay, well, a lot back and forth here. Again, feel free to return to any of the topics that we've talked about, but I wanted to take some time to just sort of plan ahead, and we've already got some good kind of back and forth in the chat on this, building out just a sketch for our next event. We had talked about potentially an extended time frame for this in terms of the number of hours. Anna, what did we finally reserve? Do you remember the time slot on that? Was it 4 hours we have now?
I think it's 9 to noon. Hold on, let me check.
Yep, I think it was going to be maybe 9 to 1. I was hoping, but so wanted to just run this by. We've had a number of potential topics for this. One, obviously, Bonnie's results, right, from everything that she's just shared. So that's one. We've got from Jim a suggestion potentially to walk through the, and I'll get the acronym correct here, the NDRP, the Nitrogen Deposition Reduction Plan, as another potential walkthrough, an agenda item. I had mentioned, this sort of problem-solving session that we might be able to coordinate with Russ and Christy and Bonnie and others, and maybe some satellite information. So, just wanted to get some open dialogue running on this in terms of what would you like to see in person as we meet up there, and any other preferences as to how we run this. It would be really exciting for us all to be in the same room again. We did it briefly, or we did it in the CSU room, but it's kind of a small group. There were the fires running, and there was a lot of schedule conflicts. I'm hoping that most or all of us can make this one, because we've got such advanced notice, and want to make sure it's relevant and interesting to everybody. So I'll just open it up with new idea or any additional ideas about the agenda. Thanks. Yeah, 9 to 1. Perfect. That's what I was thinking. About the May 1 meeting.
Brian, this is Julie. One thing that I've been following, and I see that Josh had a hop off, but Megan may be able to tell us a little bit more. I've been following the landfill methane rules, and so that might be something that'd be interesting maybe to get an update on that. I know I'm sitting on another public meeting on that, here later this month. So maybe by that time they'll have that stakeholder process done and be able to give us a little bit more information.
Thank you.
And that's hey Julie, thanks for that. This is Megan McCarthy. That's my team coordinating the landfill methane rulemaking. So I'll reach out to them and see if they have time or would be willing to. I'm not sure if they could make it in person, but at least give an update remotely. So happy to be the touch point for that.
Thanks, Megan.
And Brian, just a refinement on that, the NDRP, it would be they're like a kickoff for the collaboration for the NDRP review. Even just basic things of like topics of interest, which we've heard some of them in the milestone report review, but also a structure of like how much time ag may want to spend in whatever meetings on the item, as I mentioned before, with the BMP work group as a potential venue.
Yeah. Other thoughts, potential agenda items to get together?
You may be aware that the EPA has the comment period for the model farm using the name study for emissions from dairy, poultry. It basically includes all the animal sectors except for feed yards. And that initially was going to be that comment period was going to end on the 10th of this month, and it's been extended, I believe, to May 19th. And so there may be some interest in some discussion of that.
What would the topic be, Brian?
Basically updating the AP 42 emission factors for animal operations. It's the results of the name study, NAEMES. Can't remember, it's an acronym.
Yeah, if you can drop what we could call that, or a reference to something in the chat, that would help.
I'll drop a link in the chat.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. That'll help us to follow up accurately here. Excellent. Appreciate everybody coming forward with some ideas. At this point, I was thinking we'd have the room for 4 hours, but we could potentially do a 3-hour in-person meeting. So we could start at 9:30 and go to 12:30, for example. And that would be, I would update the details on that and so on. But how do you feel about that? Would that work? Make it a little more worth the drive? It'd be a sort of a full morning. And just sort of add a half hour on the front end and a half hour on the back for that day.
That sounds good to me. And I do think that it would be great. It's great that we're going to be meeting in person for the nitrogen deposition reduction plan kickoff. I do think, and I don't want to overload the agenda, because I think between that and hopefully going through BMPs, that could take up quite a bit of time, and will give us the opportunity to discuss those things in person.
Yeah. I'm okay. Any other feedback? Jim, I see a thumb up on the 3-hour there. Thanks for that. Anybody opposed to that approach? A 3-hour, 9:30 to 12:30 in person. Thumbs up. I see lots of nods and agreement. Okay, so let's run with that. I'll communicate that with everybody. We'll get some details. I have one follow-up then. If it's 12:30, would folks want us to try to bring, and Anna, I don't know if we can, but would folks want us to bring pizza on site or something like that, so we could have some food together and relax after we close the site? Or would people want to just head back to your offices and so on? What would be useful? Would you all want to have a lunch together? I'd be happy to organize that and take care of it.
Well, since my office is 3 hours back away, I would suggest I eat.
That was a yes. Okay, thumbs up.
I never say no to a free lunch, so.
All right, so we'll work on a lunch. I'll make sure that we get the right number of people and all of that with an RSVP. We'll be a little more specific this time than usual, but I can at least promise some pizza and light beverages for everybody. So, okay. With that, I've covered everything on my agenda for today, and we're a little ahead of time. Sometimes we move very quickly, and then we go slow, and then we move fast again. So I'm going to open it up to everybody. Any final thoughts for the good of our our team and everything that we've done. Of course, we'll capture all the notes and send out all the links. If you have shared a presentation today, please email me a link to that or a copy of that, and I'll post it on our website and get those links out to everybody. Any last thoughts for the good? Oh, Joyce, you can't make it. Sorry about that. Yeah. Well, we'll get you in the next one. All right, everybody, take care. You get a few minutes back in your afternoon. Thanks for everything you do for us. It's so important, and we'll see you in person, most of you, in May. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers. Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, thanks.
Dr. Morales, if you can stay on for a sec, that'd be great. Or did I lose you already? I lost you.